Today you are going to learn how to use the Performance Matters Assessment platform. You will learn how to log into this platform, what tools will be available for you to use, as well as what type of items you may encounter. In order to log in, you must know two pieces of information. Your first piece of information that you need to know is your student ID. This is your 6-digit Pasco student ID, which you will use for the student login. Your password is your district assigned password, which is typically a 5-letter word with a capital first letter, followed by 2 digits and a symbol. Once you enter your student login information, you will select the Sign In button. When you select the Sign In button, it will bring you to a screen that looks similar to this. You will notice that I have several tests available to pick, some of which I've started and paused, others which I have not started yet. Since you may see multiple tests available to you, you want to make sure that you select the correct test. Today I will be taking the Practice Tech Enhanced Items test. This test I had actually started before and I'm coming back in to continue. Because I had started this test before, when I come in it tells me which questions I have not answered. I have not answered any of the questions on this test. In order to start the test, you press the Start button. Before we look at the different types of items, I want to show you the tools that you have available to you. First, you have the next arrow. This takes you to the next question. You also have the last arrow. The last arrow takes you to the last question of the test. Here is the pause button. You will use this pause button if you need to stop your test partway through in order for you to save your work and come back in where you left off. You will notice that this text is highlighted. You have the ability to highlight text. The way in which you highlight text is you click on the text with your cursor and you highlight it. By doing that, it will show you the highlight. If you ever would like to undo your highlights, you can press these refresh arrows. The refresh arrows will clear all of your work. You do have some additional icons up here. If you hover over any of these icons, it will tell you what it is. On some of your tests, you may have the calculator available to you. This blue calculator icon is just a typical 4-function calculator. You can click on that and you can press the buttons as you would a handheld calculator. If you are done with your calculator, you can close by using the X. We also have a scientific calculator available on some tests. The next icon is a straight edge. The straight edge provides you with a straight edge to help you when taking tests. If you would like to use the straight edge, just click on that tool, move your cursor to where you would like it to appear, drag, and drop where you would like the straight edge to end. Now you can see the straight line available to you there. To clear all, again you press the refresh arrow. I will mention the eliminator and the eraser later. This first type of question that you see here is called the associate question. The question says to match the president's first names to their last names. These cards here may have words or pictures or equations in them. You can click and drag and drop them down to one of the boxes below. Our goal is to match 2 cards up in each of these rows. The question said to match the president's first names to their last names. I know that Ulysses S. Grant was one of our presidents. So I have Ulysses, his first name here. I want to match Grant over there. I did put his first name here and his last name here, but it doesn't truly matter how I match them up. Notice the arrow goes both ways. So maybe for George Washington, I put his last name over here and his first name on the right. And Ronald Reagan are my last options. Notice I have extra blank cards, but I may have extra cards that have words or pictures on them. These would be distractor cards. You do not have to use all of the cards that are up here, but you do need to fill in all of the boxes on the bottom. The next type of question is called a matching question. Here I can click in the boxes to answer the questions. It says correctly classify the numbers below as odd, even, or neither. I will go through and select my answers. In this case, I chose one per row, but you can choose multiple per row if it makes sense in the problem. This type of problem is called an inline choice question. Notice within the text, there are drop-down menus. In these menus, I will choose the answer that I think is correct. In each of the drop-down menus, you can only select one option. This is called a gap match question. In here, you will notice I have a word bank. I can click and drag and drop any of these words into a blank in my passage. Notice when I did select that word and drag and dropped it, it did not remove it from my word bank. I can choose to use the same word twice if I think it is necessary. This type of question is called the order question. In order to complete this question, you must place these options in order. Specifically for this question, it asks you to put the following words in alphabetical order. To do that, I simply click and drag where I think this option would go. They can move in any direction. So if I wanted to put these in alphabetical order, I would make sure that they are correct, and once I have them in order, then I go to the next question. This is called a hotspot question. This is an image, and you will see circles highlighted on this map. The hotspot question sometimes uses circles, squares, or other shapes to highlight certain areas in which you can click. Some of these areas are correct, and some of them are incorrect responses. The question here says, what is the capital of New York? I'm going to select Albany as my answer. Notice that when I selected this circle, it highlighted it as my answer choice. If the question calls for it, you can sometimes select multiple answers. But notice that this one doesn't, because when I select Syracuse, the highlight moved over there and only one answer choice is highlighted. Here you have a passage. You can scroll down using your mouse to the question. Once reading the passage, you will be able to answer this type of question, which is called a hot text. Notice some of the question is highlighted. This is similar to the hotspot in which I can select any of these highlighted areas. If I think that this is the correct answer, I will select this. Notice that this area is now highlighted. Sometimes, just like the hotspot, you can select multiple areas. In this case again, you cannot, and notice that the highlight is only in one selection and not both of them. If you make a mistake and need to unhighlight in either the hot spot or the hot text, just simply re-click it. This type of question is called an inline text. Here, I can enter in type using my keyboard to answer this question. It says the lizard called a basilisk usually walks on all four of its legs. Make sure to try and spell the answer correctly and to use a capital letter when necessary. The next sentence says, however, when it is frightened, it gets up on its back legs and runs. If it comes to a stream or a pond, it can run right across the surface of the water. Once you have filled in your inline text spaces, you can go to next. This actually includes two questions. The top question is your traditional multiple choice style question. I know this because there are circles next to each one of my answers. When there is a circle next to each one of my answers, I can only choose one answer. I will select 82. Notice it only lets me pick one. If I want to choose my answer as 76, it will take 82 away. The bottom is what we call a multi-select question. Notice the difference between your answer choices. These have circles and these have squares. The question also says select all of the expressions that have a value of 82. This means I can select multiple answer choices. This type of question also allows me to use the eliminator tool. If I know that a question has an answer choice that is in no way correct, I can use the eliminator tool and cross out an answer choice. This helps me to know now I am only looking at two possibly correct answers. If I accidentally eliminate one that I didn't mean to, I can use the eraser tool to uneliminate an option. To get back so that I can select an answer choice, I have to use the arrow or the pointer icon. And now I can select the choice that I think is correct. This is the last type of problem you may see. This question is an extended text question. This allows you to actually type in the box, just like you would on a computer. You can type as much text as you need. Sometimes you may have options to edit your text. You would see those options above this box here. When you are done with all of your questions and you arrive at the last question, you will now see a new icon called the Stop button. If you want to stop your test and you have answered all of your questions, you now press Stop. Notice that when you press stop, it gives you a summary of your test. It is warning me that I did not finish question number 7. So I can choose question number 7 and go back to that. Notice this hot text item, I did not select a part of the text to highlight. So now that I've done that, I now know that I can jump to the last question and press stop. All of my questions are now answered. And this is the most important part of your test. When you are completely done with your test and you are ready to submit your score, you must select the icon says exit. By selecting the exit icon, your scores will now be submitted. You will now see that the submitted test has the test that we just completed. Once you are back at that screen, if you are taking no other tests, you can log out by using the door icon. This will return you to the login screen, and it will prepare the computer lab for the next students. This is how you take an assessment on the Performance Matters assessment platform.